Whether you're a woman or a man, I think it's all about having confidence, having the courage of your convictions. As a franchisor, you're in the customer service business, and your most important customer is your franchisee. The three key elements for us are staff management, marketing, and customer service. So what does that mean for us? How do you evolve? How do you enable the unit sales to grow, but without jeopardizing the core of the success? Just own it. Take your seat at that table.
Zenoti presents Growth Diaries, the fascinating stories behind the best brands in beauty, wellness, and fitness. Hosted by Sudheer Koneru.
If you've ever walked into a Blo Blow Dry Bar and felt instantly empowered, like you could conquer the world with just the right style, it's no accident. That feeling, that experience, that brand, it's all part of the vision of Vanessa Yakobson, a powerhouse leader who has turned Blo into North America's largest and most recognized blow dry bar franchise. Vanessa isn't just a CEO, she's a brand architect, a strategic mastermind, and a leader who doesn't believe in limits. With a background that spans finance, marketing, and franchising, she took Blo from a boutique concept to a thriving empire of over 140 plus locations and counting, redefining the way women experience beauty services. But beyond the numbers, what truly sets her apart is a relentless passion for building something bigger than just a business. She believes in cultivating confidence, fostering entrepreneurship, and turning challenges into stepping stones. Whether it's guiding franchisees to success, expanding Blo's global presence, or elevating the customer experience, Vanessa leads with heart, strategy, and an unwavering belief in possibility. Today, we get to dive into the mind of this incredible leader, her vision, her challenges, and her lessons along the way. Welcome to Growth Diaries, Vanessa. Wonderful to be here in Toronto. Quite a bit colder than Seattle,
Yes,
but
no
thanks
doubt.
for making the time, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to do this with you.
Yes, and I'm excited also because, Blo Dry Bar represents, a brand which spans across Canada and the US, and in today's environment where fair trade and free trade is important, I think you built a beautiful business across the two countries, and there are not too many brands which have been successful in doing that across both, and must have been a lot of effort figuring out the cultures between the two and all the cities. So
It's actually more similar than I think most people would imagine. Certainly there were nuances to launching the business and determining how to grow the network there. But it's actually more similar than people would realize, and good to know that we can all still be friends.
yes, and as for everyone's information, it is Blo Blow Dry Bar is a Canadian. It was founded in Canada,
Yeah.
and then expanded into the US, right?
Exactly. The US is a much bigger market, so early on it became a priority for us to enter the US, and we continue to expand in Canada, but most of our growth has been in the US. In fact, at some point a few years ago, we did some research and we determined that of all Canadian brands, we were on a top 10 probably list in terms of having the highest number of brick and mortar outlets for a Canadian founded brand in the US.
In the US.
Yeah.
Great, good to know that. Great. So you, in terms of how, before we get to how we got to here, Blow Dry Bar, you didn't necessarily start this business. There's somebody who started this and had the idea of a blow dry bar, and then you got involved.
That's right.
Maybe you can give us little color into how did you and your family get involved in Blow as a business?
Yeah, well, there's actually a prequel to the Blo Blow Dry Bar story, which is that in about 2001 or just before that, my husband and I took our son to get his first haircut in Toronto, and we went to the place that was supposed to be the best place to get your haircut. And my husband, who had grown up in furniture retail, who was an investor in some other hair salon franchise concepts through a business he was involved in, he looked around and he said, "This is a terrible execution. We can do better than this." And in my fuzzy recollection, he came home a few days later and said, okay, I'm starting a kids' hair salon, and our friend's brother, Paul, he's going to come and run it. So that was the start of our journey as a family into the multi-unit hair salon space. So they grew that brand. I was only involved as a shareholder and a customer, of course, with our kids, but we grew that brand to about 20 locations across Canada, some franchised, some corporate. And then a number of years later, somebody introduced us to Blo Blow Dry Bar, which was founded by two women, a mother-daughter team in Vancouver, Canada. And by the time we were introduced to Blo, they had 3 locations and they were 2 years old. So we took a close look. We realized that it was a fantastic company. Really, truly, our founders started the blow dry bar category. It did not exist before they created it. And what's more, I believe that they really created this single service focused business. And now we've seen such a proliferation of those. So we acquired the company in 2009, and having had the experience of having corporate and franchise locations, the team decided that they wanted to pick one path going forward. And so we picked franchising. And a number of years later, we sold the children's concept so that we could focus on growing Blo.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story in terms of being involved first in the hair salon space for kids. And in fact, just recently I was in Minneapolis and I was talking to Snippets, who's a
yes.
kids hair salon footprint, but it gives you the exposure into the industry and the service industry aspect. The beauty, wellness, and fitness industries touch our lives like no other industry does. And every brand that has succeeded in this industry has a wonderful story behind it. We have stories that engage, stories that we can learn from, stories that inspire all of us. And I'm here to bring you these stories and introduce you to the wonderful people behind these brands. So if you're enjoying this, do press like and hit the bell icon to subscribe, so you'll be the first to know when a new episode comes in. But while all this was going on, you were having a different life completely, and I understand you were working in pediatric oncology nonprofit group and trying to help them and all that.
Yeah.
So you were not involved in this. So maybe you should give color. Why did you get involved in this pediatric oncology Toronto group, and how it helped you lay the foundation to actually be able to do the blow dry business?
Sure. So I grew up with a father who was a very successful corporate guy in the banking world. So I only knew climbing a corporate ladder. So I had started my career in marketing, working in Toronto for a number of companies, or just one company initially. Then I went to graduate school in the US, actually, got my MBA, came back to Toronto, continued on that corporate path at places like Procter & Gamble. And then I started volunteering for an organization that was very close to my heart called the Pediatric Oncology Group of Ontario, POGO for short. I'm a survivor of childhood cancer, so I had been volunteering for them initially as a survivor representative. And then in around 2001, they decided to get into private sector fundraising. They were government funded. So I started volunteering to do that. And eventually they asked me if I would join their staff and develop their private sector fundraising arm, if you will, of the organization. So I came in to do that with no direction, no experience in fundraising at all, other than having spent some time before that reaching into my network, my father's professional network. And so I came in and needed to figure out what to do. So spent 11 years there growing the brand, which had absolutely no awareness beyond the medical and government communities working in the field of pediatric oncology, and how to grow the whole infrastructure and how to learn how to be a professional fundraiser.
Cool. And I think this was a format which didn't have much awareness with the people. So you had to
That's
build
right.
awareness, make them, it's like almost building a brand. You're building,
Absolutely.
making people understand that there's a cause here which people should
Yes.
care about and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was kind of helped you in terms of saying, hey, Blo will also need to build awareness and drive a brand kind of stuff.
Yeah. The brand building was a big part of it. My MBA had focused on marketing, so I felt well prepared for that. In the nonprofit world, I was able to find agency partners, PR and marketing creative agencies that were able to volunteer their time. So we had incredible work done on behalf of the organization without having to pay for it, which certainly helped. But yeah, building the brand from that perspective, but also in terms of awareness, because as you said, there was no consumer awareness. Even affected families weren't aware of this organization operating behind the scenes. And in order to achieve our fundraising targets, we had to very quickly create awareness in the corporate world, in the consumer world, because of the fundraising we were doing through events and the like, and in the world of foundation fundraising as well.
And so when you were done with this, you thought maybe you'll get into Blow Dry Bar, but you still had a couple of years of diversion before you were going to get to the actual root of your career.
So yes, so I had this wonderful detour in the nonprofit sector, and really Pogo was my other baby. It really became an important part of my life, and I was really proud of what we were able to achieve there in terms of the fundraising we did. And then I like to say it was on the eve of my 40th birthday, and a friend said to me, it's not a midlife crisis, it's a midlife reflection. And I thought, okay, so here I am reflecting, and I'm thinking, I did my MBA. I wanted to be in business. Now, I mentioned that I only knew corporate and climbing the corporate ladder. My husband, on the other hand, only knew entrepreneurship. Yes, he'd gone to school to become a lawyer, but he never really practiced law for very long. And for him, it was really about business ownership. So I found myself at Pogo thinking, I want to get back to the world of business, but I've had this experience for the past 11 years where I've been very autonomous. It almost was very much like an entrepreneurial journey, building the business, so to speak, of fundraising at this agency. And I didn't know what to do coming out of that. I knew it was time to leave because I knew I needed to pivot and go back on this path of becoming a business leader, which I had wanted to do. And I didn't know where I was going to go. And I also had a bit of a crisis of confidence because I realized that I had not become a functional expert. I wasn't a marketing professional. I wasn't a finance or HR professional. So who was even going to give me a job? What was I going to do? And then a friend who is a respected business person in the city of Toronto said to me, you're a business builder. And I came to understand that I actually had developed a generalist skill set. I could do a little bit of everything. I knew enough, and that was partly my experience and partly my MBA. I give credit to my education, so that I could understand different facets of a business. But I still didn't know what I was going to do. And I said to my husband, I think I should go and run our company, Blo Blow Dry Bar. And at the time, there were 4 team members running the business, and we had about 40 locations. And he said, you can't do anything there. It's too small. Can't support you. There's no job for you there. So then a friend of mine said to me, how about the hedge fund business? And I said, what's a hedge fund? So I had to learn all about that. He ran a hedge fund, this friend of mine. And so I came in to help them with marketing, with capital introduction. And then I took on other clients and built a bit of a business for myself. And the whole time I was thinking, I'm only using a fraction of my skill set, and this is not satisfying. It also was not occupying me full time, and that was frustrating because I came to confirm that, yes, I'm a person who needs to be busy. So I did that for a couple of years, but the whole time I kept saying, I really want to go and run Blo, and I really want to build this business. So eventually, we identified a special opportunity, which was the opportunity of having Blo pop-ups inside other major retailers. So my husband and I agreed it made sense for me to come over to the company and pursue this opportunity and take the chance while I was involved within the company to understand it better and to understand where the areas of opportunity lay. And after a period of time, we killed the pop-up model. It didn't work for a variety of reasons. And I said, okay, I see what we need to do. I got this. And so I ended up taking the helm of our company, and I've been here now for 10 years.
Cool. In 10 years, and you've added more than 100 plus locations, I guess. So
Yeah,
that's good
yeah.
growth.
Look, I think I know COVID was a setback. We would have been further ahead in unit count.
Yeah.
We did lose some stores. Of course, the market slowed, and so the opportunity for new stores over that period of time was definitely truncated. But we are back on track and growing, and came out of the pandemic period stronger than ever.
Great, great. And so that's great. So that's good context in terms of how you got involved and all the grounding. And I think it's important. I do find that entrepreneurs, they generally have a journey which helps to prepare them. It's serendipitous kind of stuff to prepare them for whatever they're about to embark on. So as you said, I think you had all the groundwork
Yeah.
jumping into this business. So, in terms of growing the business itself, how have you approached, because you got involved and you want to grow it faster, in terms of supporting franchisees? What kind of systems, processes, where were things, and what did you have to do to say, let's do a better job to make these franchisees more successful and make your
Yeah.
business more attractive to them?
So it's, of course, on so many fronts, so many aspects. When I came here, the philosophy, the approach I took was that our growth had to be responsible, meaning we needed to ensure that we built the infrastructure, the right people, the right systems and processes at the right time to support the growth, to support the system we had and the system we were about to have as we grew. And it was also very clear to me that as a franchisor, you're in the customer service business, and your most important customer is your franchisee. It's easy to imagine or to think that your primary customer is the end user of the product or service that you're offering, but really the franchisee is your customer. And when franchisees sign on with us, we take on a tremendous responsibility. It's a real privilege and it's a responsibility. They are entrusting us with their family's wealth, with their entrepreneurial dreams, and we take that very seriously. So I wanted to ensure that whatever we did, whatever we created, the resources, the tools, the systems, the approach to supporting our franchisees was all about setting them up for success. So in order to do that successfully, I had to learn the business of franchising. I was able to learn from our team, from my husband and his experience. Even though he wasn't day to day, he knew a lot about franchising and the industry. And then I started to seek mentors, the same as I did when I was in fundraising. I sought out mentors who were professional fundraisers. I hired even young junior people from my team who had experience elsewhere that we could learn from. So we took a similar approach here. And then it was really about building out those systems over time. But we needed to ensure that we understood the needs of our franchisees. So creating a culture and dynamic that really encouraged and facilitated that dialogue. We needed to hear from our franchisees. What was working for them? What were the best practices that one had implemented in their bar that we could package up as a system best practice and share with the rest of the team or the rest of the system? What were the challenges they were having? What were the areas of opportunity that they were seeing? So it really had to be about collaboration and dialogue.
I think that stands out for me. Successful franchise businesses, one which you said, which is they treat the franchisee as part of the collaboration process of how will this business evolve. They don't treat the franchisee as, I'm telling you do this, just go do it because I know better kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that collaboration is an important element I've seen. The second, what you were just saying, which is to start off, I think I've heard you say before that people are the most important part when you go into business, taking care of the people and having the right people around you. And often people think it is the people inside your company you're talking about in your corporate office and all, but actually it is the franchisees also who are part of your company is how you to approach it because
Yeah.
they're the people you to take care of and they're the people you to worry about kind of stuff. Yeah.
When we talk about the Blo family or the Blo community, we don't just mean our corporate team. We don't just mean our team and our franchisees. We mean their staff and we mean their customers too. some of the ways in which our system has evolved and improved over time is based on input not just from the franchisees, but from the people working for them, from the customers. Every single time, literally every single time, and I go once a week to one of our bars for a blowout, whether I'm in Toronto or traveling, every single time, the conversations I have with the staff or the observations or engagements with other customers informs my thinking, gives me something to bring back to our team. So yeah, it's not just about we're the franchisor, we've developed the system, you have to follow it. I think as an emerging brand, there's a spectrum. As an emerging brand, you're more likely to back off with the enforcement of compliance with the system. And you recognize that your system's evolving. As you grow, you have to shift. And that's a difficult transition to make. And we still are making it, I would say, because you have to get to a point where you say, no, this is the way. These are the system standards. And what I learned at one point, which was a revelation for me, is that when we have to enforce compliance with one franchisee, we're not just doing it for the sake of following the corporate rules. We're doing it for the sake of protecting the brand for the other franchisees. And that became evident to me when a franchisee said to me, I love my neighbor in my market, my fellow Blo franchisee in my market, but she's doing things that are offside. Can you please fix it for the sake of my business in this market? And I went, okay, now I get it. And it gave us the confidence to have teeth to be able to enforce compliance. So I think as you evolve, finding that fine line between where you say, no, this is the way it is, or, okay, let's work on this together. How can we evolve? But also to be able to confidently say to franchisees, that's a great idea. We recognize the value and importance of what you're saying, but not right now. Right now, there are other priorities. We've got that umbrella bird's eye view, and it might not be satisfying to you at this moment in time, but we're not addressing that quite yet.
I think, the notion of listening very closely to the world around you as an entrepreneur, not just hearing people out, but actually listening and internalizing, and especially in the early stages, as you mentioned, very important because you're trying to figure out the whole brand and all that stuff. And yes, absolutely. I do think people struggle with the enforcement as they become a bigger brand, but it's a critical transition to make, as you said, for the benefit of the broader network, that there is a standard that your brand stands for.
Yeah, and sometimes if a franchisee is not performing well, they think the answer lies somewhere outside. I remember hearing a former CEO of McDonald's speak at an International Franchise Association event about franchisees who wanted to add hot dogs or wanted pink lemonade in addition to the yellow lemonade. And, franchisees will often seek something else. But I always say, we have given you an incredible toolkit. We've given you incredible recipes. We know they work. And great ideas, but not for now. Let's focus on these other things that really have been proven. Once you've got the proof, to be able to confidently say, we've built you a great system. The rubber hits the road with you. The execution is up to you. But we know that what we've built works.
Cool. So you mentioned I'm going to go into an area which we didn't discuss, but still we can go through it. You mentioned that franchisees are entrusting their money, their profit, their wealth in terms of saying, they want to build a business, they want to build the income for their families, and they come to you to sign up with the network. Do you want to share more color in terms of what are the kind of people who come? Who are these franchisees? These are people with a lot of money. These are people who have, what is a profile, and how has your brand, Blow Dry Bar, helped through specific examples of franchisees who have actually been successful and are living a higher quality life than before they met you?
Yeah. It's interesting because, again, as a franchise business evolves, you do start to refine your understanding of the type of franchisee, the type of skill sets and characteristics that make for successful franchisees in your system. So that does evolve over time. Early on, you're just so excited that anyone wants to sign on with you. You're not as discerning because you don't yet know how to be, or you have the very realistic financial pressures of needing to earn the franchise fee. We've been very fortunate. We really do have wonderful franchisees, and it's really important to us to always build that relationship. I was thinking of this as you were speaking. In any business, we always say the customer is always right. That's sort of the adage that you fall back on. And the head of one of our product companies that we use, his name's Andrew Dale, the founder of Unite Hair Care. At one of our conferences, he said, "I'm not sure if the customer is always right, but the customer always needs to be satisfied," which I thought was a very important, nuanced way of approaching it, which means that for us, given that our franchisees are our primary customer, it's very important that they're satisfied. So again, this whole notion of listening to the franchisees and being able to support them, I can't understand why franchisees think the franchisor is the enemy. In no other business dynamic, this is the revelation I had while you were speaking, in no other business dynamic would a customer necessarily think that the business that they're patronizing or supporting is out to get them. I mean, yes, we obviously know those horror stories, but that was an interesting revelation. But in terms of the franchisee profile, what we've come to understand is that you need to really be successful in three key elements. And I'll talk about beyond that. But the three key elements for us are staff management, marketing, and customer service. So what does that mean for us? In terms of staff management, it's the spectrum from being able to recruit the right people, successfully onboard them, and then develop a wonderful work environment where the people who work for you love to work for you, they love to come to work, they appreciate the opportunities you give them to grow in their skill and to grow in their earnings. So while growing in their skill and earnings, they're also driving productivity for the business. So as a franchisee at Blo, you have to be successful in managing teams. And not all our franchisees have had staff management experience when they come to us. So when we're engaging with candidates, we really want to understand, do they know what it takes to manage a team? Maybe they haven't managed one themselves. Maybe they've been part of a team and they understand what effective management looks like and what bad management looks like. And then we teach them how to do that. So they have to really enjoy it. You're going to have a sizable team as a Blo franchisee, and therefore you have to really enjoy it. And what we always tell our candidates is that staff management might be the most challenging part of the business for you. It will probably also be the most rewarding. I think many of our franchisees come into this business because they want to make their customers feel wonderful. And that's the motivation and where they think they're going to find their greatest reward. And it turns out that oftentimes the area of greatest reward is the staff management and the impact that they're able to have on the people who work for them. So that's one skill set. The other is around marketing. We make the digital marketing, the paid marketing easy. We have wonderful marketing technology platforms that our franchisees can make use of. But another part of it is what we call community engagement marketing, where the franchisee is required to represent Blo in their communities. We want them to be able to network. We want them to be able to build partnerships with local businesses and charities and other organizations. So that marketing piece, that community engagement piece is important, and the understanding that marketing must be done persistently, over time, continually. So our franchisees don't necessarily come from marketing backgrounds. Many of them will say, I don't know about marketing. I definitely don't know about digital marketing. And we're able to say confidently, don't worry, we have the resources and the training, so you'll be successful at this. And then, of course, customer service. Many of our franchisees have been Blo customers, or at least customers of the Blow Dry Bar category. So they understand what excellent customer service looks like. And that's really a very important competitive advantage for us. This is not just a transactional come in, get your hair and makeup done and leave. This is really about the way the customer feels when she's in our bars. We talk about ourselves as being a business that's at the intersection of beauty and wellness. And the way the customer feels in our bars and when she leaves is very important. And it's all about wellness. So the customer service protocol and the franchisee's understanding of the importance of delivering that exceptional guest experience is key. So I mentioned that many of our franchisees come to us because they understand as a customer the value proposition. So yes, many of our franchisees are women, but not all of them.
Yeah, I was going to ask how many of them
Yeah.
are women and what is their profile like, in the sense they're a few years out of college, they're moms, they're
Yeah.
working, they leave a job, or, is this a big investment for them or like no small investment on the side?
I think it's probably spans the spectrum. So many of our franchisees are women. We have men who are franchisees as well. We have some couples. We have a father-daughter duo. So it really is about people who understand the value proposition, whether they're seeing it from the customer perspective or strictly a business perspective. They are people who've got different backgrounds. Many of them have worked in corporate America and now they want to pursue an entrepreneurial opportunity. Some of them are women who have stayed home for a period of time raising a family and now they want to get back into having a career but want the flexibility and independence that entrepreneurship brings. Some of them are franchisees in other systems who are looking to expand their portfolio. We've got one couple that spring to mind. The husband has a business with partners where they're invested in food service and other franchise systems. It was the wife's turn to pursue a franchise opportunity, and she wanted one that she could get more excited about. So it's a spectrum. Some of our franchisees are single unit operators. Yes, they have to meet financial qualifications, but others come in, they have a bigger investment to make and they want a bigger footprint and they'll sign up for multiple units. So it does span the spectrum.
But I think, yeah, it's nice. So as you said, this business and the industry is all about the end consumer feeling good, walking out. Like it's
Yeah.
not just looking good. They feel good when they walk out, feel more confident. And that's why even I personally love this industry, is because we are in the business of helping people improve self-esteem is how I think of it. And but in your case, you're touching so many lives when you reflect on it. When you're building a franchise brand like yours, you're helping the franchisees who are making a living out of it, and then there's the staff who are working there, as you said, and in their fulfillment and their
Yes.
livings are improving, and then there's the end consumer. So there's a lot of impact.
Yes.
And given you have a lot of women entrepreneurs who are franchisees, I mean, that's nice to see. You're impacting a lot of women's lives too. Good to see that.
Yeah, look, it's not just women, of course. It's a lot of women. A lot of our staff are women.
Yeah.
Virtually all of our customers are women. We actually did some work a few years ago with a marketing agency, and we worked on coming up with a tagline. And we came up with the tagline, "With Blo, you shine." And out of that came a promise statement that's now on the walls of our bars, which is, "We're here to make you shine." And we loved that. And then we started to love it even more when we realized we can make that promise statement to each one of our constituent groups, if you will,
Yes.
our stakeholders, our franchisees. Our corporate team says to our franchisees, "We're here to make you shine." Our franchisees make that same promise to their staff, and the franchisees and their staff make that same promise to their guest. So we're here to make you shine.
That's wonderful. It works very well, the tagline, "We're here
Yeah.
to make you shine," because I think, yeah, I always thought about feeling good, but I love the "we're here to make you shine."
Yeah, and shine means so many things, right? It's the physical manifestation
Yeah, I know.
of our services, and it's the self-esteem that you talk about, but more than that, it's the self-care.
Yeah.
And we know how much consumers today value self-care, and that's certainly not a trend or a fad. That now that customers have discovered, the world at large has discovered the importance of self-care, that's not going away. No one's going to give that up. So when I talk about the importance of how people feel when they're in our bars receiving our services. It's not only about the hair and makeup, it's about the vibe in bar, the beautiful environment, the warm welcome, the engagement with the stylist who's providing the service, the engagement with the customers sitting in the chair beside you. It's all about that wonderful experience they have that makes people feel great.
And you mentioned about marketing and digital marketing and helping the franchisee with that. Of course, you can do that, and then they do the local community engagement that they have to do. But one of the other big investments in marketing I've realized about your business is, and you seem to invest a lot in coming up with a lot of these designs and blow looks, and there's a whole lookbook that you create, and you have to
Yeah.
keep it fresh all the time. And it's the core element of what you have to do
Yeah.
because people come in for these amazing looks, and making them shine means it has to be every time. Maybe you're working
Yeah.
harder each month and each quarter to do that. So maybe you can expand on that investment you do for your franchisees.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. We have to stay on top of what's trending, what's fresh, what the consumer is going to come in and ask for. So we provide ongoing education that the stylist can take advantage of, where, let's say we're coming up to prom season, we'll put out a stylist training video, or our director of artist education will host a webinar where stylists can learn how to create these looks that are of the moment. We also made a big commitment a number of years ago. We'd been using stock photography, as so many brands do. And I looked at our VP of marketing and I said, we are too grown up now to use stock photography. We need our own imagery. And we started investing in creating our own looks, hiring models, using our team, our staff working in our bars, plus our director of artist education, to do the hair and makeup for the photo shoots. And what we came to realize was that this enabled us to represent the diversity of our Blow community. And it was a very important principle and value for us to ensure that as we were casting the models, we really did reflect the diversity of our community, so that everybody, per our mission statement, everybody in the entire Blow community can feel welcomed, represented, and gorgeous. So that was really important. And then as the world of digital marketing continues to evolve, we realized that the effectiveness of our ad campaigns, and we've had incredible success. Don't ask me to quote the stats. I'll have to call our VP of marketing to help me, but the numbers are staggering, and our digital ads perform the way they do in part because we're continually creating fresh content. So it's become a really important investment for our ad fund dollars.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti, the software trusted by over 30,000 salons, spas, med spas, and fitness studios.
And I think Toronto being such a diverse city with multicultural, cosmopolitan people from all cultures, it's great to see that you're work towards making sure your brand is very inclusive in how it feels and for everyone.
Absolutely. Across North America, in different markets, our franchisees will see a different customer mix in terms of their local demographics. And it's imperative to us that every customer walks out of Blow feeling that her needs have been met. And so we really ensure that the products we use in service, the tools we use, the training that we give our franchisees' team members enables them to perform our hair and makeup looks across all different skin types, all different hair types, all different climates, different times of year, seasonality, etc. So the diversity and the commitment to ensuring that we're meeting the needs of the diverse community extends through all of that as well.
Great. And the other point I realized you also said, right, that having these fresh looks and fresh creatives helps your marketing to perform better on the digital front. And I wanted to reiterate that, we've also found that all these Google and all these engines, even if you're a small business, making sure your listings are fresh, making sure you're putting stuff out there drives better results. Everything works
Yeah,
far better. So people need to know that it's a worthwhile investment to make. So you figured
absolutely.
this out, of course, for your franchisees, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of the smaller chains and brands don't realize that it does add value.
It does, and it's difficult to keep up with the ever evolving landscape of digital
Yes.
marketing and what is fueling the Google algorithm at this moment in time. Having come from a marketing background, I feel like I understand it well, but I gave up a long time ago on trying to keep up with our VP of marketing in terms of the understanding of how digital marketing works today. So I think for people who don't have the benefit of having somebody with that level of expertise or having the agency partners, it is important to keep up with it because it does make a difference in driving search results. One of the things that I've come to learn from our VP of marketing is the importance of managing one's digital reputation, the importance of driving the number of reviews your business is getting, and let's face it, primarily on Google, and then ensuring that you're responding to those reviews in a timely manner, meaning, within 24 or so hours, positive or negative, because the way you engage with your reviewers makes a difference to the way other people see you when they're going to search out the reviews for your business. And it fuels the mysterious Google algorithm. So that's really important as well.
Agreed. And I think that's great that you, as a franchisor, I'm sure, are helping all the franchisees make sure they're following some of these
Yes,
norms in
definitely.
a uniform way across the network. That does
Definitely.
reputation and responding to reputation online, etc., is a big deal in terms of
Yeah.
algorithms.
Yeah. And it's a big part of what we coach and celebrate with our franchisees. The other thing I wanted to say about our ads is that we really monitor closely the ad performance. So our marketing team knows which models get the greatest engagement, which sort of looks or sort of creative approaches get the most engagement. So they are gathering that data on an ongoing basis and using that to inform the next photo shoot, the next casting decisions, the next creative approaches that our graphic designers are taking. So the marketing we're doing really is informed by that data.
Great. So moving on, one other thing is, so this business started off as a single service where the original founder designed saying, I just want to do blowouts and that's
Yeah.
all I'll do. But over time, you've tried to evolve this business to say, can we make this more robust? Can we make it generate more revenue for your franchisees, make them more profitable, and really expanded the services that you're offering? But they're so logically kind of flow with it kind of thing. So
Yeah.
how did you go about discovering what services would flow with it and not like bring in haircuts because that would not be
Yeah.
true to your brand spirit?
Exactly. And it's been not an easy process. I remember back in the day when franchisees had said to us, I'd love to be able to offer makeup services. So many of our customers come to us for special occasions, and getting your hair done, getting your makeup done, they really go hand in hand. And we struggled with it. We thought the whole brand positioning is that we're a single service business. We don't cut hair, we don't color hair, we're just about the blowouts. How can we add another service offering without jeopardizing the core of what made us successful in the first place? And funnily enough, we actually took an inspiration from Starbucks. Starbucks around that time started introducing food. And we thought, okay, that's an interesting model. How do you evolve? How do you enable the unit sales to grow, but without jeopardizing the core of the success? And so we, around the same time, explored an opportunity that we referred to as Body by Blow, where we would have bigger footprint locations. Most of the real estate was taken up with our standard blow format, 8 or 10 chairs. And then we also added nail waxing and these makeup services. So we opened a number of locations with that format, the Body by Blow format. And we came to realize that in our model, makeup did succeed. Makeup did make sense. The other services did not. And so as we continued to open additional Blow locations, we allowed franchisees to offer makeup services as well. And then eventually made makeup services mandatory. And it's now become an important competitive advantage for us. And we've partnered with wonderful makeup partners to be able to really put a spotlight on and build that makeup business. And we continue to look at opportunities. Growing the average unit volumes or sales of Blo locations is our number one strategic objective and continues to be. So as they grow, we're continually looking to say, what else? And I love to use that analogy. There's more juice to squeeze in this orange. So how do we go about doing that? So some of the service proliferation has been driven by our wonderful product partners and products that they've come out with that have enabled us to add special conditioning and other hair treatments. It's also been about things like adding hair extensions, and we'll continue to look for other opportunities to drive revenue on the service side, but again, really making sure that what we're doing is adjacent and logical in its relationship to our core services. Because if we just become a full service hair salon, then what are we? We're nothing but the same thing as every other full service hair salon. And then the other thing that's been a big important part of our evolution is our retail. So originally we have always had the opportunity for customers to purchase the products that are used in service. And then we started recognizing the opportunity to bring in other products. And we've got wonderful products on the shelf that are the kind of products that a customer would walk in and go, oh, I saw that online. I saw an ad for that. Or funny, I was just about to go to this other shop and replenish my product. Now I have it here at Blo available to me. So building out our retail offering has also been an important opportunity for our franchisees.
Nice. So basically, your ability to actually experiment with the service and see how it works and then bring it back to your franchisees and all that was good. And in fact, by the way, this morning I was actually asking my wife, what would you add to a blow dry? Because she was looking online about your business. And then she kind of herself, before she realized your makeup, she said, maybe makeup I would add, kind of, so because it was like so long, it felt like it might go with the business footprint. And it's interesting that you're also exploring not just retail of what you use in the store, but other things which might which might resonate with your customer, because your franchisee benefits in the sense you're making them more robust in terms of revenue and all that. Now, talking of revenue and making your franchise grow, there are other things also I realized from a business process perspective that you do. One is, of course, introducing services, but you can make your franchisees be more smarter, more robust, do well, and you have a fairly transparent system of tracking, and you have this rewards process called the bestie rewards for your thing. I love the word, and the way you've branded them, and then you're very transparent with all the metrics. So people, and how has it helped the franchisees to make more money? Maybe you should share that, because people don't think that that might help them make more money. So
so as we came out of the pandemic and had the opportunity for a strategic reset, we decided that it was very important that we become a data-driven, performance-driven organization. And we started investing in data tools beyond what was available to us through the booking software POS system that we use in Bar. And we started doing our own secure data extract and manipulating the data. And it really gave us the ability to very clearly identify KPIs and targets and benchmarks for our franchisees. And then we started publishing results. And at first we were reluctant because, these are private businesses in a way, and we weren't sure how our franchisees would feel about having their results published. But we came to understand that the sharing of the data really drove success in our system and continues to do so for a few reasons. For one thing, it enabled our franchisees to understand what the potential was for them across different metrics. So often our franchisees who were new would say, well, how am I doing? Should I be doing better? Could I be doing better? And we didn't have good answers or weren't able to present that to them in a clear, concise way. And so being able to share data helps our franchisees see what the potential is for them. And then it helps them measure their current success against those benchmarks. So now every week our franchise business coaches share an email that talks about the month-to-date results across a number of benchmarks. And every month we publish out the system benchmarks. And so there's a lot of celebrating, a lot of recognition. Our franchisees have come to wait for those data releases. Sometimes they'll reach out to their franchise business coach and say, hey, when's the weekly email coming? Or why haven't you sent out the monthly results yet? And then some of our franchisees are even sharing the results with their teams. So their teams are saying, did we make the top 10 this month? And they're using that to inform their strategic planning. They're using that to set goals for their businesses, for their individual team members. And so that data sharing is really fueling success. And it's changed the nature of the conversations we have with our franchisees. I am so impressed with our franchisees when we have conversations today and they're talking about the benchmarks and they're referencing the success of other franchisees and they're talking about their own KPIs and talking about them in an intelligent, actionable way. It's really made a big difference.
Yeah. And I think it's great that you've been able to make that transition, because a lot of businesses, may share revenue data as saying, hey, he's the best performing store, but sharing all the metrics and building a culture of looking at data, I think prepares your business in terms of growth as you expand into being a much larger scale.
Yeah, and what's really interesting too is that when franchisees, even the ones who are very successful, look at those benchmark results and see who our top 10 performers are each month or each week, they're able to identify opportunities that are underdeveloped for them and their teams. So they're able to say, wow, I see this franchisee on that top 10 list for that particular metric. And now they can start to reach out and build that collaboration. In our annual meeting, my opening remarks at our annual meeting a few weeks ago, I talked about the interesting interplay between healthy competition and collaboration or cooperation in our system. So we've got that wonderful healthy competition where I would say our top performers are competitive, they're ambitious, they want to see themselves on those top 10 lists. But that doesn't preclude them from being wonderful collaborators and cooperating with other franchisees, so that when their peers reach out to them or when we invite them to be on an annual meeting panel or a webinar to share their best practices, they're so willing to be forthcoming with that because they see that sharing their best practices and their tips and tricks for driving success helps everybody succeed. So all of that has really fueled our system growth and continues to do so.
Good. And as you said, many people focus on maybe marketing and saying that's how I let my franchisees grow. And then there is the service formats that you talked about, expanding the service, and then there's retail. But data itself and the process of how you engage with your franchisees can help grow your network and grow the revenue. So it's good to see the spectrum of work that you've had to do to keep making your franchisees more robust and profitable overall.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti, the software trusted by over 30,000 salons, spas, med spas, and fitness studios.
So where do you see going forward? I mean, you're already at closing in about 150 stores, and how does this Blow Dry Bar franchise, where do you see it? How do you see it evolving?
So many exciting ways. So like I said, we'll continue to focus on driving AUVs, looking for those opportunities to evolve our service offering where it makes sense. So there will be some pilot testing and experimentation in the coming months within the Blow model. We're also going to be looking at the opportunity to develop a Blow Express model, which can enable us to take Blow into smaller markets in a smaller format. So very nascent stages of just starting to explore that opportunity. And then from a corporate perspective, we are looking at ways to evolve our corporate revenue streams, including building out our business as a portfolio company. So a couple of years ago, we acquired a local 4-unit with a couple of pop-ups that have since closed, but a 4-unit lash and brow styling business in Toronto, which we turned into a franchise. We launched it into the US under a different brand name, Lash Kind, and then we ended up acquiring subsequently a small emerging lash and brow franchise called Lash Bar, based in San Diego, and now we've merged those two systems. So we are also, from a corporate development perspective, building out that business, and we're so excited about all the learning, all the tools and resources and supports that we've developed for our Blow system, we can now bring to our lash business as well. And some of our early franchisees in that system are Blow franchisees as well. So being able to bring everything we've learned to the benefit of this emerging brand has been a really exciting opportunity that we'll continue to develop, and we'll continue to keep our eyes open for other acquisition opportunities as we look at other emerging brands in the beauty and wellness space with business models that have enough similarity to the Blow business model or the Lash Kind business model that we can bring those learnings and bring all that experience to the benefit of those brands as well.
So I'm sure like the principles you've applied for Blow Dry Bar, if you apply them to the lash business, I'm sure that can be interesting.
Yeah.
And as you said, maybe your franchisees on the Blow side find even more opportunities with your new format. So I hope all that comes together well. Also, most recently, your private equity firm across a large portfolio of their companies said you as the best CEO of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you attribute? Firstly, congratulations.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that's wonderful to see you get recognized for that. And what do you attribute that award to?
You know, it sounds like a cliche, but as soon as they told me, first of all, I was shocked and very flattered and honored. But as soon as they told me, I thought, well, it's really not just me. It really is the team. And that sounds like the sort of thing that every leader or founder would say. But it's really true. You know, the results that they recognized me for were the results that we have all achieved together. We have such a phenomenal team here at the Blow head office, such a talented team. We've worked so hard, again, in collaboration with our franchisees, to build this amazing system of support. I would put it up against any franchisor, and I've heard from our franchisees who have franchise locations with other brands as well, how very much they value and how highly they think of our system. So really, I think this honor is a recognition of all the work we've done as a system, and it's recognition of the work that our franchisees and their teams have done, because as a franchisor, we are only successful when our franchisees are successful. So we do what we can to set them up for success, as I said, but the rubber hits the road with them. So if they weren't executing well, and our team wasn't providing them with all the wonderful resources we provide, then we wouldn't have had the success that led to that recognition.
Yeah, that's true usually, but I mean, obviously, the people all have to come together. But I think you coming up with all the right instruments and thinking about all the growth levers are important. Once you've thought about them, then of course the whole people have to execute on those things. And as I said, in addition to, of course, you work with some of the best franchises and you care about the people and all that in your group. But you've also been, as a brand, fairly active, I think, with some of the social responsibility work, and you work with some charitable organizations, and you do the work still with the oncology group, etc., or you're not involved with
No, for a number of years, we did some fundraising across the system in partnership with St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Okay.
Today, we're more inclined to support our franchisees in their local efforts to support local charities, because we found that for our franchisees and their teams, it's so meaningful to them, it's so important to them to have the opportunity to leverage their Blow business to support their local communities. So they'll do a number of things. They'll support local fundraising with gift certificates or silent auction donations. They'll get together with their teams and go and volunteer for a local organization. They'll host people who are the volunteers for a local organization or charity, or they will host the beneficiaries of those organizations in their bars. So being able to leverage their Blo business to support their local communities has been so important to them, and it's really something we encourage and support.
And I think the reason I also brought it up around the social work that your stores do is that they also help with building connection with your end customer,
Yeah.
because they feel like, hey, you are connected with the community, and they feel more connected with your brand. And so
Absolutely.
doing those while there's a good intent and cause,
Yeah.
but they have an ancillary benefit of building robustness in your business as well.
Absolutely. And we talk about that a lot with our candidates who are considering becoming franchisees. We talk about the opportunity and the importance as part of your community engagement marketing mix of supporting local organizations and charities. And I would say, if you're thinking about the kind of franchisees that are successful in our system, the franchisees who are motivated and inspired by that do tend to be the ones who are attracted to our business and are successful, because they're leveraging that opportunity to give back while at the same time building awareness for their business and building that community.
Is there a particular trait of yours that you feel has served you well as you've built Blo over the last 10 years?
I mean, you'd probably have to ask my team. I think it's my commitment to collaboration and my recognition that I don't have all the answers. I have something to learn from everyone, and I want to encourage and facilitate that. I tell my team all the time that I don't want anyone to hold back. If they've got a question, if they have an idea, if they have an observation, I want to hear it, because good ideas come from everywhere. Important insights and observations come from anywhere and everywhere. So it's been really important to me, for my leadership team, across our whole team, and of course to our franchisees and their team members when I'm in their bars. It's been really important to me to create that comfort where people do feel that they can come to me with their questions, ideas, etc.
Cool. And is there anything you would change when you look back in terms of the journey you've had and how you built the business?
No, I think when I look at the journey I've had, I am very appreciative of all the work experiences, the educational experience that I had, because of the skill set it's enabled me to develop. So I really value all of that. I wouldn't change any of it. I think, if anything, I would have not spent the 2 years doing the hedge fund work. I would have loved to have come into Blo 2 years earlier. The sooner you start an entrepreneurial journey, the better, is my feelings. So that's the only thing I would change. But otherwise, I'm very grateful for and appreciative of all the experiences I've had along the way.
Yeah, and I think I have the similar experience. When someone asked me, I also felt with my company, Zenoti,
Yeah.
the sooner I had gotten started, it would have been better. I didn't start it early enough, is what I felt,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So good. Thanks for that feedback. Now, being a very successful women entrepreneur, I thought I should ask you more specifically, what kind of advice would you give to a woman entrepreneur who's starting off today in this industry?
It's funny, because I think that for the most part, I've not focused on that as an individual. I've always been a person who had a great sense of confidence and confidence in my abilities, and also that comfort around being humble and admitting when I don't know, and being comfortable asking questions and all of that. So when I think of women in business, or women entrepreneurs specifically, for me, it's sort of ignoring that. I don't know that it matters. I think whether you're a woman or a man, I think it's all about having confidence, having the courage of your convictions, recognizing and not apologizing for your skills and strengths, and also recognizing where you have gaps in your skill set or knowledge, and therefore finding mentors, seeking out learning opportunities, surrounding yourself with the people who fill those gaps. So I think that's important no matter what. I think that today it remains true that women often face the dilemma of navigating professional lives with personal lives. I think that the world has changed, and the male partners in our lives play a much bigger role than perhaps historically they did around, child rearing and managing the household. But I think there are still pressures women face. I know for me, when I had my children, I wanted to be home with them. But at the same time, I wanted to work. And I recognize that I was very privileged in being able to make choices. So because I was so independent in my work at Pogo, I was able to say, I'm taking this time off and then I'm coming back part-time. I also recognize that I was very privileged in being able to afford childcare. I was very fortunate in being able to rely on grandparents who supported me and my husband, and certainly acknowledge the fact that my husband has always been a wonderfully supportive, equal partner in our personal lives. So I do think that there are pressures that women face around that, and not everybody has the benefit of finding those support mechanisms that I was able to find.
But I think it's good that, firstly, being present to the fact that, these are, or having gratitude for the things that you just listed out, that you've had the luxury of having this kind of support structure. But even for the woman entrepreneur out there, being very present to their strengths and weaknesses, where are the gaps and what do they need to do, is what I heard you say is important. Once you're present and aware, then you can go about trying to address it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I've also always been a big believer, and I think this is good advice, women, men, people of all ages. For me, what served me really well is the fake it till you make it sort of mindset. I know some people don't like that and frown on that, but for me, it really meant taking my seat at the table, owning my confidence. Even in those moments where I didn't necessarily feel confident, I've always made the choice to appear confident, to literally take my seat at tables where it would have been easy to stand in the back of the room. And I read Sheryl Sandberg's book, Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook Meta. She wrote a book called Lean In, and that really resonated with me, that notion of just own it, take your seat at that table. You'll earn the respect, even when, including when, or maybe because of when, you say, I don't understand that, or I don't know anything about that. Can you tell me about that? You do earn respect in those moments. So yeah, take your seat at the table, lean in.
Yeah, I like that. And I think I totally agree. Asking the right questions in a forum when you don't know the answers is an important element of exhibiting confidence, just asking the questions in the right format.
Yeah.
So why should a guest choose Blo Blow Dry Bar for their service?
We're the best. Our franchisees and their teams are the best. We really do have a commitment to continual improvement. So when they come to us, they're going to get the best quality service with the best products being used. Our bars are beautiful. There's a wonderful dynamic in bar. We're so proud of our Net Promoter Score and our customer reviews. We know that our customers love the experience there. So for all those reasons, and we have a wonderful membership program that helps them save money.
Great. So you just mentioned Net Promoter Score. So one is everybody does ask for feedback, when people come in, how was your service, and like Uber and everyone. But you also track something called Net Promoter Score, and how do you go about doing that?
The software we use tracks it for us, and we actually made it mandatory last year. Not all our franchisees were subscribing to the part of the software that provides that. We made it mandatory because we recognized the importance of monitoring Net Promoter Score and having that feedback mechanism. So it's one thing to say to the customer, how was your service today, when she checks out. It's an entirely different opportunity to send out a survey saying, please rate your service today, and then give us feedback. So for our franchisees, they have this wonderful gift of hearing from their customer whether their service was satisfactory or not. And so if the team member delivered a service that the guest loved, then the franchisee has the opportunity to celebrate with that team member and put a spotlight on that individual in their bars. Or conversely, if the guest was not satisfied, the franchisee has this wonderful, valuable opportunity to go to the customer and say, let me make it right for you. And to go to the team member and say, let's see where we fell short. Let's look for the opportunities for additional coaching and training.
That's good. I mean, I think not many people do the NPS aspect of it because that's a
Yeah.
good thing to track as a trending thing for the whole brand kind of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we monitor it for the individual locations. We monitor it for our brand as a whole. So as part of our benchmarks every month, we're sharing that.
So you mentioned that you had childhood cancer. I mean, of course, it must be very traumatizing, and I can't possibly claim that I can relate to it, but can you share how that shaped your engagement with your later part of your life? And
Yeah. My experience with childhood cancer has shaped me in very meaningful ways that I can see playing out and having important influence on how I live my life and how I make my decisions. So I was 13 when I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. And so at an age where I was old enough to really think about the implications of the experience and be very thoughtful and choiceful about how I responded to that hand that had been dealt to me. And I came to learn through that journey, which was a couple of years, some of which was extremely difficult. I came to understand the importance of making choices in life and how you can't always control what happens to you. What you can control is how you react to it. And so I learned that there are decisions we can make about how we live our life. And you don't always have to let circumstances dictate. You have to look for those opportunities where you do have control and make decisions and change behavior. So as I went forward in my life, the other way in which it influenced me was I certainly appreciated the importance of not wasting time. And so at moments in my career where I felt, okay, this isn't working for me any longer, I've really learned to trust my gut and follow my gut. So when I wanted to make a change, when I realized I really wanted to go back to school and get my MBA, and again, I recognize that having choice is a privilege, and I don't take that for granted. And I know that not everybody has choice, or not everybody has choice always. But it drove me to make decisions and to always tap in to my gut and to always ask myself, am I where I want to be? Will I regret if I don't do X, Y, Z? So that mindset has really propelled me and influenced my choices over time.
it's, living life with deliberation, like you mentioned, you're very deliberate intent, you're conscious of what everything is an important thing.
Yeah.
But one word you used in the middle resonates deeply for me, which is, this is the hand that's dealt to me. Like, I do that often in my life too, where I say, well, this is what is dealt to me. I got to go engage with it and let's go.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
there's no point complaining that this is the life that's dealt. And as you said, being aware that we are privileged in so many other ways, even though you may feel something was dealt which wasn't good enough in our lives, so.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, it's occurring to me that that's true in business, right? Some things happen.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, I think you're faced with many moments that you think, oh my goodness, the sky has just fallen. This is it. It's all over. There's no turning back. And then thankfully you come out the other side. And so eventually, when you're dealt those challenging hands, as you always are in business, you're able to go, okay, this is awful. This does not feel good, but I've learned that I'm going to come out the other side, and I'll probably come out in some way for the better. So part of it is really just having that mindset and then learning from experience that, nope, the sky didn't fall after all, and we did come out the other side.
Great. So across your franchise network, you have these awards. You call them the bestie. No,
Besties, Blow Besties.
yeah, you have these awards called the Besties Awards, and
Yes.
can you expand how do they work, and how has
Yeah.
it been useful to have these awards?
So, as I said, we're always celebrating results and putting spotlights on top performing franchisees. It kind of culminates every year at our annual meeting where we present our Blow Bestie Awards. We also present our Blow Pink Ribbon Awards, where we're able to spread the love and give pink ribbons to so many of our franchisees and also to their team members. But the besties, we finish our annual meeting, our 2-day conference, with an awards dinner where we recognize winners and honorable mention recipients across a whole range of awards. We have fun names for them. So our retail award, we call our top shelf bestie. Our marketing award, we call our hot pink hype bestie. So we really have fun. Blow's a fun brand, so we try to have fun with all of that. And we give out awards for franchisee of the year for a single unit owner and a multi-unit owner every year. So this is an opportunity to celebrate the top performers in our system and also to put a spotlight on them and showcase what they did and how they did it so that other franchisees can be inspired and learn and replicate those efforts too.
Great. I think in any brand, celebrating is important. And given your marketing background, I think you've made celebration that much more fun in how you design them and all
Yeah,
that. So
exactly.
fosters more collaboration among people. So
Definitely.
Vanessa, it's been a delight to come and meet with you and spend. Thanks for making the time and spending the time and sharing your story with everyone. It's a wonderful story, as we discussed, around between Canada and the US and stores spanning both extremes. And I wish you continued success and look forward to your growth. And I'm sure it's a source of inspiration for many other women entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs, as you've said, rightfully, that to continue to aspire to grow at the scale at which you are.
Well, thank you so much for those well wishes and thanks for having me. It's been so wonderful to chat.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti.